All right, with the concept of talking about this fall concepts of catching bigger fish, reaction baits, one thing that I want to talk to you about is working the bait entirely back to the boat. You can even do this from shore, but when we're talking about a cast, one of the biggest things that I see in fall walleye is that reactionary technique, especially on the jig side, whether we're throwing big plastics or throwing any of those reaction baits that we continue to talk about. When I cast a bait, let's just say I'm casting it into 30 feet of water, what my jig stroke is when that bait is 60 to 100 feet from my boat, 30 foot down, what my reaction is, what that bait is actually doing underwater is different at the beginning of my cast versus the middle of my cast versus the end of my cast. I was actually fishing with my young children the other day. They're 11 years old. They were struggling hooking walleyes on a bombing cast, right? We're casting into deep water. They didn't have enough power, so they were doing short casts. All of a sudden, after 8, 9 fish, I realized really quick that my kids are kicking my butt, and I was trying to figure out why. What the difference was at a very short cast, what their bait was doing, the height of their jig stroke, the aggression of their jig stroke at a shorter distance was much more drastic than what I was doing on a longer cast. So when I am making these casts and I'm out there catching fish, I let the fish dictate what they want. So when I'm fall fishing anywhere in the country, when I catch that fish, I am asking myself, what was that bait doing and why? Where was I at in the cast? When I am halfway through my cast, what is my jig stroke? How high is that bait coming? To where all of a sudden, even though I might just make short casts, I might make medium casts or long casts, I know that once I figure out what they want, I can adjust my stroke the entire cast. So if I notice that most of my fish are biting on the very beginning of my cast, more than likely that line is going straighter in the water, my bait's laying flatter, I'm getting less action. So as I get near the boat, I'll actually tone down my jig stroke. So I'll be very aggressive on my stroke at the far point of my cast, and as I get closer to the boat and I have less line out, I will soften things up, mimicking what that bait looked like at the beginning, and now I'll catch fish throughout the entire course of my cast. Or vice versa. I know that every fish I'm catching is below the boat. That's because I'm delivering so much action and so much movement. So on the beginning of my cast, I'm really going to exaggerate things, going to go crazy with that stroke to mimic what's working. But more importantly, pay attention to what's getting bites, understand why, mimic that again. You're going to do that throughout more water, and you're going to catch more fish at the end of the day.